First of all, I want to say good morning to everybody. I want to begin by thanking Kelly Hayes, U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, Jimmy Paul, Special Agent in charge of FBI Baltimore Field Office, Brian Crow from the DEA, in charge of DEA, is here, Baltimore office, Baltimore Police Colonel Robert Velty, Deputy State's Attorney for Major Crimes Tom Donnelly, MIU Chief Sam Mildenberg, and ASA's Megan Green and Jacob Himmerly. Have I missed anybody? Oh, if I have, I apologize. And I want to thank them for their fantastic work and for being here today to announce the takedown of a drug trafficking organization operating the 1800 block of North Collington Avenue and the 2600 block of Greenmount Avenue here in Baltimore City. Before we get into details, let me remind you that all of these individuals charged by indictment are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty at trial. Drug trafficking organizations like this one inflict real and lasting harm in our communities, creating conditions of fear and instability that erodes public safety and diminish residents' quality of life. They fuel violence, addiction, and disorder in neighborhoods that deserve stability as well as opportunity. Efforts of this scale are simply not possible without strong collaboration across local, state, and federal partners. I am deeply grateful to my major investigation unit for their focus and tireless work, and to the Baltimore County State's Attorney's Office for their partnership. I also want to recognize the outstanding efforts of the U.S. Attorney's Office, Baltimore County Police Department, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Baltimore Police Department, and the FBI Baltimore. It is this collective, coordinated approach that allows us to disrupt these dangerous organizations and restore safety and confidence in our communities. Beginning in early 2025, the FBI Baltimore Safe Streets Task Force, along with members of the DEA and BPD, launched an investigation in an open-air drug market operating the 1800 block of North Collington Avenue here in Baltimore City. As a result, investigators identified defendant Terrell Pryor, who they believe was selling bulk quantities of cocaine to members of the drug trafficking organization, along with several others. Investigators received a court-authorized for a wiretap for 2 of Mr. Pryor's phones, and as a result intercepted multiple calls in which Mr. Pryor appeared to be traveling and meeting with individuals for the purpose of conducting volume narcotic sales, and was acting as a volume quality supplier to multiple individuals who would then break down the narcotics in the street level sales and distribution. Specifically, investigators found that Mr. Pryor, among others, was regularly conducting narcotic sales to the following defendants: Alvin Edwards, Dominique Stokes, Darrell Anson, and Milton Davis. Once again, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Through these interceptions, investigators also found that Pryor was regularly meeting with defendants Norman Thomas and Nathaniel Gardner, so that the three could procure large volumes of cocaine together and then divide it amongst themselves to distribute to their own customers. And all this is alleged. After receiving court authorization for wiretaps on Mr. Thomas's and Mr. Gardner's phones, investigators discovered that the two were also operating a drug trafficking organization in the 2600 block of Greenmount Avenue with the help of defendant David Montgomery. And all this in Baltimore City. Intercepted communications showed that Thomas and Gardner were also acting as wholesale cocaine suppliers to defendants Sean Chisholm, Ty Ingram, and Eric Purnell. Once again, all alleged. As a result of this investigation, multiple search and seizure warrants were executed, resulting in the seizure of nearly 9 kilos of narcotics, over $55,000 in cash, in addition to numerous firearms, ammunition, and narcotics packaging material. The 11 defendants I mentioned have been charged with numerous offenses, including firearm drug trafficking, possession of regulated firearms after a felony conviction, possession of intent to distribute cocaine, possession of CDS proceeds, and participating in a criminal organization. I'd now like to turn it over to my partner in this aspect, Kelly Hayes, U.S. Attorney for our District of Maryland.
Good morning. First, I want to thank State's Attorney Bates and the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office for our continued partnership. We share a common mission, which is to ensure that the most violent offenders who pose a threat to public safety in Baltimore City are investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And together, through this partnership, we are seeing real results in declines in violent crime across the city. This collaboration highlights the importance of teamwork as we work in tandem with our local and federal partners to combat drug trafficking and violent crime. I also want to thank the Baltimore City Police Department and our federal law enforcement partners, the FBI and the DEA, for their relentless pursuit of these individuals. This case is a classic example of how this federal-state partnership helps us deliver results for public safety. Specifically, the Assistant State's Attorney on this case, who has tirelessly worked with state, local, and federal law enforcement officers, is a cross-designated Special Assistant United States Attorney. That means that the ASA has access to both state and federal resources, including the full support of the U.S. Attorney's Office. As this case progresses, we will continue to work hand in hand with the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office to ensure that at the end of the day, whether in state or federal court, these individuals are off our streets for the longest period possible. And we will continue to collaborate on numerous other cases as we pursue our common goal of increased safety and security for Baltimore City and for Maryland at large. I'll now turn it over to FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jimmy Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Hayes. Good morning. My name is Jimmy Paul. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for the FBI's Baltimore Field Office. We're pleased to join our partners with the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office, United States Attorney's Office, Baltimore Police Department, and the Drug Enforcement Administration. Today we are announcing the dismantlement of 2 drug trafficking operations in Baltimore. These locations are less than 2 miles apart, neighborhood streets made up of homes, businesses, and churches. Through the partnerships and the work of the agencies you see here today, we have dismantled these crews and stopped almost a dozen criminals from taking advantage of our city, stripping residents of their security, and bringing chaos into our streets. The FBI Safe Streets Task Force is made up of Baltimore City police officers, FBI agents, analysts, tactical specialists, and forensic accountants. The task force began looking into drug trafficking on Collington Avenue last February. The investigation led them to a second location on Greenmont Avenue. This has all the hallmarks of what you'd expect: wiretaps, covert surveillance, search warrants, and seizures, along with countless hours of investigative work and months of collaboration between our agencies. What also stands out in this investigation is the pace. It moved extremely quickly. This is thanks to our dedicated task force, but also in large part to our partners at the U.S. Attorney's Office and Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office. This investigation required methodical planning and constant coordination as investigators reviewed evidence, logged communications, and traced each of the criminals involved and their illegal activities. The indicted are believed to be responsible for flooding the streets with hundreds of thousands of dollars of cocaine, along with the crime and instability. Residents of these neighborhoods found themselves caught in the middle as criminals sold cocaine on their sidewalks. Drug users showed up outside their doors. Swift and thorough action was necessary to stop the illegal drug sales and to rid the streets of these criminals. By arresting their supplier, seizing their drugs and weapons, and indicting those responsible, we put an end to their illegal activities. One of the FBI's main priorities is crushing violent crime and to make our communities safer. We are proud of the partnership that makes this possible, that makes up the FBI Safe Streets Task Force. These 11 indictments are a great example of the success we have together, but we know we're not done. We urge the public to partner with us to submit tips if drug trafficking and violence is happening in your neighborhood. This shows what we can accomplish together, and this is how we can keep making our city safer together. Thank you for your time. I'll now turn it over to Colonel Rob Velty of the Baltimore City Police Office.
Good morning, Colonel Velty with Baltimore City Police Department. On behalf of Commissioner Worley and the Baltimore City Police Department, I want to begin by thanking all of our law enforcement partners for their continued partnership, and in particular here today, the FBI the DEA, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and our partners with the State's Attorney's Office. This investigation here reflects the strength of our ongoing collaboration. This investigation's hinged upon extensive coordination, intelligence sharing, and utilizing complex investigative techniques. This teamwork really allowed us to dismantle 2 open-air drug markets excuse me, that were operating in the South Clifton Park and Harwood communities. Both of these areas are long-standing areas of drug trafficking as well as violence that unfortunately oftentimes accompanies these drug trafficking organizations. This collaborative takedown allowed us to disrupt the criminal activity that was harming these communities, and it allowed us to return these areas to the residents and neighbors who, like everybody that live in Baltimore City, deserve safe and stable communities. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the hard work of BPD lead detective and task force officer Monte Moreno for his dedication and hard work throughout the entirety of this investigation. This case here highlights what we can achieve when local, state, and federal partners focus on one common goal. In closing, I will say that as a police department, we are committed to working tirelessly with all of our partners to continue to drive down crime, to fight drug trafficking, and to make Baltimore safer for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point in time, open up for any questions.
And again, we're taking questions on the topic if anyone has any.
Can you say any more about how this group got on the radar? There's a lot of drug dealing that goes on, but on Safe Streets zeroed in on that. Can you say why?
I would say historical violence. I think one of the things that I think is very important is that, you know, you may have had a case, and your name may come up in violence, but that doesn't mean you're off our radar. And what that means is that by the time we find out who you are, when I say we, law enforcement, we're going to take the time to figure out and do the investigation and find out what is really going on. At the end of the day, everybody up here with law enforcement, we want to make sure that we try to make as many safe neighborhoods as possible in Baltimore City. There's a lot of violence going on out there, and we're trying to get to all the neighborhoods, and we're doing, and the police here and the investigators are following the leads about the violence.
You mentioned breaking down of the narcotics, the cocaine. Are you able to say what else was in what you guys were able to find, law enforcement? Was fentanyl in there? We hear that it's in pretty much everything now these days. Are you able to say that?
With this investigation, it was predominantly cocaine, very little fentanyl. Out of this DTO was primarily cocaine.
The guns seized, they're being analyzed to see if they're connected to violent crimes, I assume?
Yes. Any firearms that are seized in any investigation are analyzed through the crime lab and some other entities to help tie it to possible violence.
The question for Ms. Hayes. There was a raid yesterday on a Washington Post reporter's home. It came from a Maryland prosecution. Can you talk about the justification for that and whether that's going to become more commonplace as this district handles a lot of classified cases?
But once again, we're only keeping those questions confined to this particular issue. One thing I do want to say. I think it's very important for the public to know that this, I think, is probably the first time we've done an entire. I think the first time our offices have done a press conference together. I think it's very important the community recognize and understand that the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office, we are working closely together on as many cases as we can work on a partnership together because we have the same goal to keep the residents of Baltimore City safe. And I think that's something that I know the residents hadn't really seen us together, but we have been in constant communication, working together. One of the things I also like and remind is that we now have prosecutors that we did not have when we came in this office back in 23, who are now able to be cross-designated to do these cases in federal court as well. And so that's another weapon, another tool in the toolbox for the residents of Baltimore City to recognize we are working collaboratively with our federal partners.
an on-topic question on that point. It seems like, Ms. Hayes, it seems like anecdotally, it seems like there's a lot of FBI, DEA, ATF cases that are going through the state's attorney's office and attorney general's office. Is that on purpose? Am I wrong? Is that like are you happy to delegate?
We are always in constant communication with the Attorney General's office, with our partners in the state's attorney's offices, to determine where the best forum is, where the best venue is for all of the crimes and individuals that we're investigating. And so rest assured, at the end of the day, we are all making a collaborative decision to determine where the cases should be best prosecuted.
It was earlier mentioned that these were open-air drug markets. I'm pretty sure the BPD gets lots of calls from citizens about these. How are you guys going to address these open-air drug markets? More enforcement? I know you don't want to give away your secrets, but how do you tell citizens what you guys are going to do?
I think when it comes to open-air drug markets, as you can see here too, but we're coming. We're working together collaboratively to address the problems and the issues. I know sometimes when you're a citizen, you live in a particular resident, you live in a particular area, you feel there's no hope. But what you really may not understand is that we have these conversations. We understand what's going on. And it takes a while to build these types of cases, to do the investigation. But we are doing what we can to help the residents of Baltimore City. We hear you, we see you, and we're definitely going to come and do everything we can to have you live in a safer place.
The police department has talked a lot about how our violent crime is down because of the relationship with the community. Did that help in this case? Did community members step up and say something? That's something we've heard a lot about.
I would say what we do have more than ever, you do have the community understanding the police are their partners, are here to help them. And so, yes, we see that more and more in the cases that we're working with. And in this case, yes, we did see that as well.
It might be more geared towards Officer Velty, but you mentioned that drug users were showing up at the outside of the doors of some of these dealers here. Was that primarily how the transactions were occurring, or was it happening, cocaine in and around some bars and maybe the entertainment districts of Baltimore? Are you able to answer a little bit about that?
Primarily, this is more of an open-air drug market where you have hand-to-hand sales on the streets and the alleyways. Unfortunately, centered around some of the residential sections of these communities.